By now, you've probably heard about Texas Democrats breaking quorum, where they left the state of Texas to Illinois to stop Republicans' attempts to rig the 2026 election. But the first special session is over, and what's next? I chatted with State Representative Trey Martinez Fischer about his quorum break experience and what's to come and how Democrats are going to keep fighting. So here's our conversation. Hey everyone, I am here with Representative Trey Martinez Fischer. Thank you so much for taking time to chat. Can you give us a quick update on what is going on? Is Greg Abbott calling another special session? What's happening?
Great. Well, listen, from 1,000 miles away, it's always kind of hard to piece everything together, but that seems to be what we're hearing is the governor's saying he's going to call special sessions, after session until this happens. Speaker Burrow said on Wednesday that his intention was to adjourn sine die if there wasn't a quorum on Friday. I don't think there's going to be a quorum on Friday. And my sense is a second session will be called and it'll be up to the speaker and maybe even the governor. I'm not quite sure here, but they will have to set a date when that second session begins. Could be Friday, could be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, who knows? But they have the power to set that clock. The ball is entirely in their court. But they've made it very clear that they're not going to give up until they fully bend the knee to Donald Trump and give them these rigged 5 congressional seats.
What is adjourned sine die? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a crazy word, right? That's a $5 word. I think it means without a day in Latin. And so that is the vernacular we use to determine when is the last day of our legislative session. Technically, I think we have until the 19th of August, but they can adjourn sine die any day. So the vibe is it's going to be this Friday, and that means the first special session ended. I know lots of people up here with me have said, like our first goal is to kill the special session, right? So if that were to happen on Friday, I think you can check a box and say we killed the special session. But as I mentioned, it doesn't stop the governor from calling another one, and he can call another one pretty quickly.
Got it. And do you expect that agenda to be similar to what we saw this time?
There's always kinds of, there's threats, right? And as I understand the governor, whatever agenda comes next, it's supposed to be worse, right? So the Trump takeover may go from 5 seats to 10 congressional seats, which, I have a little snarky comment about that if you're interested. And then I think, they want to try to pile on as much, red meat, dog whistle type politics that really get Republican primary voters excited. I mean, those are the threats, right? But they can do that anytime on any day with the majority they have in both the House and the Senate. If Republicans wanted to celebrate Christmas in April, they have the votes, right? And so those aren't really real threats. That's who they are, and they would do that whether we're in Chicago or they do it if we were sitting there on the floor of the House. If they wanted to do horrible things, they certainly have the capability to.
I mean, you're in Chicago, as you said, and that's quite a bit of ways. And I think you're on day 12 or 13 of being there. And I know that you're planning your daughter's quinceañera from there, right? Can you kind of speak to the sacrifices that you and other members have made for this fight?
Sure. I mean, you see a lot on social media. Let me just dispel a couple of things. Number one, this is not a vacation. Number one. Number two, I love my colleagues, but I don't like them, right? And spending 12 days with them in a row is just a little bit much, right? There's a tremendous sacrifice. We have single parents on this trip with their children. I mean, that's hard. Imagine having to explain to a 9-year-old that you had to evacuate a room because of a bomb threat. That's real. We have a lot of members that work for somebody, which means they sign the back of the paycheck every 2 weeks. They have to explain to their boss why they're gone again. Because remember, we have just returned after a 140-day session that ended in early June. And then you have folks that have businesses and they're trying to run a business from 1,000 miles away. It's complicated. We have spouses, we have children. We want to be civilians. We want to get back into our normal routine. Living out of a bag, looking over our shoulder, and walking around with protective detail is not a normal routine. And so when you have those kind of stressors going on, it makes for some very tense times. And Yeah, absolutely. I'll admit it. We've lost our cool with each other, but that's just the reality of the pressure cooker we're in. But listen, I take it all in stride. This is not the fight that I chose. I didn't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, I have an idea." I mean, the fight chose us, right? And so this is the fight that we are in. We are going to meet this moment, and we're going to continue to fight until this country wakes up and people start doing something about not, in response to our democracy being stolen from us.
Absolutely. And I think people don't realize that y'all only make what, $7,200 a year? Is that pre-tax?
Yes, and so you make that sound like a lot. You need to tell people that it's $600 a month, and you need to tell people that our insurance alone is about 4 or 500. And then if you want dental care or you want to get a separate life insurance policy, when it's all said and done, I think there are a couple members that actually write a check to the Treasury to cover the expenses from the deductions. And so, yes, it's not a lot of money. People don't do it for the money. I think there's a fairness argument about maybe we should pay lawmakers better so that we can get real people and not just the ones that can afford it. But yeah, as it stands right now, a whole $600 a month and not a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just speaks to the sacrifice of leaving jobs, leaving spouses, leaving families, back to school time, and you're not making much money for it. It's not your full-time job. And so I think that's a really important thing. And to kind of get to the elephant in the room, I mean, we saw the press release today that sets the conditions for Democrats to return. What are your thoughts? And are you going to be one of the first Dems to go back to the House floor?
I've been saying for a long time that, when the history is written about this day or this event, you're going to find me on the right side. I am not going to be 97, 98, 99, 100. That's just not who I am. I mean, life is too short to pretend to be the voice for my constituents and then, behind the scenes, do things to undermine, my ability to effectively represent them. Everybody has their reason, and I don't judge anybody. But what I know is that there are a lot of members that I'm here with that will fight this out, to the ends of the earth. But I mean, there are realities. I mean, and like I said, we have challenges being up here. We have challenges at home. But many people, came into this fight for different reasons, all in the pursuit of standing up for our democracy. But I'll acknowledge a couple of things. Number one, this is a marathon, right? This is a long race, and it'd be impossible for somebody to sweat this out for 90 days, 100 days. I mean, I let a quorum break for 6 weeks, and that's no easy feat. That's no easy task, and that's when we had cooperation from President Biden, from Speaker Pelosi, from Leader Schumer. We had some backup, if you will. I mean, we don't have that today. We have Donald Trump, we have the FBI, we have Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton, we have vigilantes. We have the exact opposite environment. But I think the idea that waking people up, taking these messages to governors that are in positions to do things. Yeah, we saw some great ideas coming out of California, and we should be proud about that. But what about the conversations we're having in New York? What about the conversations we're having in New Jersey? What about, the folks, not me or anybody I know, but I understand Maryland is paying attention to what's going on. Like those things need to be happening. It's not just California. And then even better, because of this pressure and because of you all and because of the amount of heat and fire that's being thrown out on this topic, you see a governor in New Hampshire tell Donald Trump, I'm not doing that. I am not going to do mid-decade redistricting, right? None of that was going to happen for folks just taking their medicine on the House floor, putting up a good fight, giving a good speech, and voting no. We needed to elevate this to the national arena, but I think we also recognize too that there is somebody out there that you pass that torch to that can run a little faster, who can take it to the next level. And then when they run out of speed, they hand it to somebody else. I mean, this democracy is about us. It's not about me. It's not about San Antonio. It's about us. And I think that, Democrats here in Texas ought to be proud that we were just dogged about that. We didn't take anything for granted, and like I said, For folks that feel like the best strategy we have is to go back and fight, I don't agree with that. But I do agree that, men and women should make their own choices, and history will decide what side you were on, and everybody has to account for that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned California, which revealed their maps today on August 14th. And I
Mhm.
believe it's giving five or so more seats to Democrats. What are your thoughts on this retaliatory redistricting?
Look, this is a fire with fire moment. Again, Democrats weren't thinking about this. This was the furthest from our mind. We govern in normalcy. We believe in traditional norms. Redistricting happens every 10 years. Everybody knows it is not a secret that this play in Texas is to insulate Donald Trump from having to answer questions if the House of Representatives falls to Democrats. And so this is a desperate move and a desperate tactic. And Governor Newsom has said, okay, give us some time, Texas. We need some time to get our act together. Do what you need to do. But however many seats are drawn in Texas, we will do the opposite in California. And I think that's what he announced today. I think as early as next Monday, this proposal could be filed. And I believe the following week, California will be in session to debate and pass this. So, again, a really good example of working with a partner that is going to help us fight this democracy. But we can't be satisfied with that because we know Trump is talking to Indiana. We know Trump's talking to Missouri. So we need some backup. And that's where New York comes in. That's where Jersey comes in. That's where Maryland comes in. I mean, even governor of Oregon, even though they're a 6-1 Democratic delegation, they're like, we'll take a look. I mean, we will take a look. It's that important. Nobody wants this democracy robbed right in front of our very eyes. I mean, that shouldn't be happening. But as Governor Pritzker said here in Illinois, if Trump is throwing out the rule book and the rules don't apply, well, then, hey, yeah, we will see you and we will meet you in the arena and we will go pound for pound for every seat you draw. We're going to do the same. And we're not going to let you steal this election. If you want to win the House of Representatives, you're going to have to win it fair and square.
Absolutely. And I think what's also important to reiterate is like, what are the consequences of what's going to happen if Trump takes back the House in 2026? How will
Yeah.
that impact your constituents?
I mean, I think what it justifies is that you don't have to worry about the consequences of governing. The U.S. House of Representatives, remember, those men and women run every 2 years. The idea is you will always be connected to your community because you're on the ballot every 2 years. And so this idea that they can, with surgical precision, they can draw districts that will guarantee them that they're going to win, then they're not accountable to anybody. And that's what's scary. I mean, understand this. I mean, these districts that they're trying to redraw were already drawn by Republicans. This is what they wanted. This is what they thought was the perfect piece of legislation. And let's look at what it did in South Texas. It elected Donald Trump. In Laredo, it elected Donald Trump. But guess what? Those voters also saw it fit to elect people that they wanted to elect. And they elected Vicente Gonzalez. They elected the Democratic sheriff. They elected the Democratic state rep. And so what this rigged map is doing, it's punishing people for making their choice. And that is what's so just absurd about this idea of, this whole notion that people should vote for candidates of their choice. Well, they're exercising their choice, but that's not the choice Donald Trump wants you to make. So he'll just change it for you, and then you'll have no choice.
I think it's a very scary precedent and a very scary direction that we are headed. And so, how can we get involved and help you in this fight and help Texas Democrats in this moment?
Well, look, there's two or three things. Yeah, number one, it's if you haven't reached out to a member of the quorum breaking crew, you should. I'm in the room with them all the time when we're showing pictures of postcards we get, or somebody comes and decorates your office, and that means a lot because I've told you you understand the pressure we're under. So to get a nice note means something. So if you hadn't done that and you said, hey, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, do it tomorrow. Make somebody feel good, number one. Number two, if you are actively involved in some sort of democratic movement, whether you're working with a local group or national group, state group, keep doing it. Keep doing it. We cannot quit. We cannot give up. Mañana is the busiest day of the week. We always throw everything away till tomorrow. We've got to stay true to that. And I tell people all the time, the day you quit is the day I quit, and we can't afford that. So stay involved. If you know a neighbor, a friend, a relative that's been sitting this out, this is the perfect time to tell them this is why elections matter. Texas is not a Republican state. Texas is a non-voting state, and we have hundreds of thousands of voters who are registered and they've never ever voted. And then we have hundreds of thousands of voters who are eligible to vote, but they've never registered. And if people started voting and registering, you'd see things change right away. The last thing I would say is, you know, support groups that are in this fight. And there are a ton of them. I'm not going to say which one's better than the other, but, you know, if you see somebody doing a good job, pat them on the back, acknowledge them for their work, and you understand that being up here is a tremendous sacrifice. Um, I've had up to three people here with me in Austin. That means I have three sets of air flights. I have 9 meals a day. I have countless Uber bills that I'm seeing go across my screen. Democracy. The fight for democracy is real and it takes resources. So if you can help somebody out, that's not a requirement. That's just a suggestion. There are plenty of people out there that can use some help.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and thank you for holding the line and being a leader in this fight. We really, really appreciate it and we've taken notice. And so thank you for all that you're doing.
Yeah, and thank you. And listen, I mean, I think you all keep bringing, speaking truth to power, and letting folks know that you're following this and you're up to date. I think that's a really good way for all of us to hold each other accountable. Is that when the facts are on the table and people are making choices based on known factors, right? And like I said, I don't mind doing something that if the group says this is in our best interest, but I have a lot of objections if we're making decisions just to benefit a small few. I don't think that's right. And that's not how I run my politics. So, you're going to always find me fighting for what I believe is right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Representative.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Take care, Katie.
Thank you for tuning in to my conversation with State Representative Trey Martinez Fischer. I think my biggest takeaway from this conversation really was the gravity of the situation that we are in, right? The House of Representatives in the United States Congress is elected every 2 years. And rather than being accountable to the people, Republicans are trying to change the game so that they win, so that their representatives don't have to face accountability because they know their agenda is unpopular. And not only does it matter in this moment, but it's the precedent that it sets. Rather than being accountable to the people, they just change the maps to get their way. And that's not how a democracy works. And so I think that's something that's important for us to reflect on, but also to tell our neighbors about and make sure that we are getting the word out of what is going on in Texas.